Yes boys, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm doing some more invasions with my Ant-Man build. I love this build, it's so much fun. Honestly, this build is amazing. I've been using the poison perfumes, only this time on this video I'm going to bring them to the front and centre of the build and start using them as the main weapon and see how we get on in these invasions, using them as my primary source of damage. I do have some weapons on the build that I will be switching to when things get a little bit tricky. I've obviously got some backups there to help me out in these invasions, but like I say, I'm going to try and use the perfume as the main part of this build for this video. Anyway guys, that was a little catch up on the old build details there. Let's get into video, let's do it. Ant-Man invasions, let's have it. Here we go guys, first invasion using the Ant-Man build for my second round of invasions since adding a couple of new weapons to this character. This is my level 30 poison build. He thinks he's an ant, he's a very strange guy, but it is what it is. I just let him be. As long as he's happy, then I'm happy. You know what I mean? Happy character, you know, happy Bertrude. That's what I always say. But I gave this character a couple of new weapons. I gave him the poison perfume and I also gave him the tooth whip from the DLC. In the last video I did my first round of invasions using these new weapons and things were going really well. It was always a strong build, this one. Poison at low level is always strong, but I thought it was a really good build to give these weapons to, as they're quite low stat requirements, so I think using the perfume and the whip at low level kind of just fits pretty well. And in the last video for my first round of invasions I was using the perfumes, but I weren't using them as the primary weapon. I was kind of using them as an addition to the build. I'd always keep them on as a soft swap, and I'd usually start the invasions and try and use it to help build that poison up, and then I'd look to switch to my weapons and kind of finish the invasion off with something a little bit more hard hitting. But I really wanted to see how we do with these perfumes as the main weapon option. Now obviously this is a poison perfume, so it might not be doing as much out and out damage as the lightning or the fire perfume bottles that you can use. I've not tried those, so I can't speak off experience on that, but I really wanted to see how the poison perfumes does as a primary weapon. And I'll be honest with you, you know, we're not doing a lot of damage with them, but god, is it fun. It's so much fun using these weapons guys, whether you're just using it as an addition to the build like I was in the first video and the last video that I released, or whether you're using it as a bit more of a primary weapon as I am doing in this video. One thing that I did pick up on after I actually made this video is that I'm using the silver tier mask. Now I actually didn't have enough arcane on this build to accommodate for the 18 arcane that the poison perfume needs, so I put the silver tier mask on to give myself a little bit more arcane. But what I did realise afterwards is that the silver tier mask actually reduces your physical damage output. Now maybe that plays a little role in this video, in these invasions, when it comes to the poison perfume and how much damage it could be doing against these players. I'm not sure how much it would actually reduce the damage, but maybe it is playing a little bit of a part, and maybe this perfume would be a little bit more effective as a primary weapon if I weren't wearing this particular mask. I'd have to do some testing. I can't say one way or another, but I can't really test it because without this mask I wouldn't be able to use them anyway. I wouldn't have the stats. I'd have to maybe bring in the talisman that boosts your arcane by 5, maybe respec the build a little bit just to get rid of this mask, and then I could test it properly without that damage reduction. But you know, it is what it is, and like I say, you know, it's just a lot of fun. So either way, even if I am doing a little bit of less damage, I really don't care because these perfumes are just such a good addition to the game. I think when the first DLC trailers came out showing the perfumes, everyone was a little bit worried that they were going to be an absolute nightmare. Maybe that they was going to be a little bit oppressive. But I really don't think it's the case. If anything, I think they're underpowered. I think they could probably do with a buff. But like I said earlier, I've not tried the lightning and the fire one, so I can't speak from experience. Using these perfumes, the poison one on this build definitely has got me interested in the other perfumes though. I would love to try the lightning and the fire perfumes that are available. And the madness one as well. There's a madness perfume, isn't there? I'd definitely like to try the other ones out on some other builds and see how we get on. I'd also really like to try them at a higher level and see how we get on using them at a higher level with, you know, higher stats and you know, higher level invasions. I'm sure that would be very interesting. But that's for another day, you know, that's for another time. I've just been really enjoying them on the Ant-Man. One thing that I have been trying to do differently on this build with this round of invasions is make some better use out of the Ash of War and the poison perfume. It's called the Deadly Poison Spray, and you may have seen it in some of the invasions so far, but it's where you kind of stand there and you just wave the perfume above your head, and what that does is that it inflicts poison on yourself and it leaves a little cloud behind you where you've been stood. Now what I've seen people doing with that Ash of War is using it to inflict poison on themselves and then to heal the poison, but what that then does is activate any poison buffs that you have in the build. That may be the Mushroom Crown, or it may be the Talisman that you can get damage buffs from when poison has been activated. But what people don't seem to realise, and what I've found out during these invasions, is that that spray that leaves behind pretty much instantly poisons any of your opponents that will come anywhere near it. So if you use that poisonous spray when anyone's close by you, you're definitely going to get a poison activation on your enemies with relative ease. So I've been trying to make some good use of that out of these invasions. Always carry some poison boluses on you as well if you're going to try this, because it does inflict poison on yourself, so you've got to be ready to cure that. But if your opponents aren't equipped with boluses, you can get a really early and easy poison activation on them, and then you're pretty much set for the rest of the invasion. It's been a really good way to get early poison activations, and like I say, you know, it kind of puts the pressure on them and takes it off yourself for applying that poison. Then you can start playing around a little bit. The technique I've been kind of trying to do is inflicting with poison using the Ash of War straight away, and then I'll just start playing around with the perfume and trying to inflict as much damage as I can and really start testing what it's capable of. You'll see it now in this invasion. We use the Ash of War and then he's instantly poisoned. He was literally stood in it for a second. As soon as anyone comes into that spray, it's so deadly, and I think people don't realise the actual potential of that Ash of War. I think it's being used, you know, I can't say it's being used in the wrong way, because activating poison on yourself is a really viable technique, but like I say, I don't think people are realising the offensive potential of that Ash of War. So it's something I've kind of been making a lot of use out of for these invasions, and it's been really successful. You have probably also noticed that we've still got the Ant Skull shield in our left hand weapon slot. That is always on the build, that is not going anywhere, that is the absolute most vital part of this build. It's what the whole character was based around, the ant head. We're carrying a big ant head, this character thinks he's an ant. And from, you know, that was his starting point for the build, and from there all the weapons and stuff just came afterwards. But we'll always be carrying that shield, and I've been trying to do some nice combos with the shield bash into the spray, and I've been kind of trying to see what kind of combinations I can put together and see what damage I can get done. You know, mixing the shield bash in with some sprays from my right hand weapon using the perfume. You can see in this invasion as well, we're also making some use out of the Tooth Whip. That's another new weapon that I gave to this build. Really fun whip to use, really effective. Definitely earns its place on any poison build without a shadow of a doubt. It's a great addition to any kind of build, even if it's not poison based. I've used some people using this on other builds that aren't necessarily a poison build, and it's just a really effective whip. The Ash of War is pretty good, it comes out very fast. Yeah, just a solid whip. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little addition to the whip weapon selection. It's just a whip covered in teeth, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's pretty inventive and I like it, and it's a really good addition for the Ant-Man. You can see just how effective the poison is in this invasion. I'm trying to focus on the summon, but I've got a pesky little wizard there, just keeps spamming with his little blue pew-pews. And I've got to really think about this one, because the wizard makes this invasion quite tricky. I always try and focus on the summon first, but you know, the wizard's been such a pain, I kind of switch my attention to him. I get him poisoned, and then once he's poisoned, the job is pretty much done. He's only got so many heals, he can only heal himself up and keep him topped up for so long, because I'm applying that much pressure with the poison. Eventually he's going to run out of heals, and this invasion just turns into a matter of time and a question of whether I can stay alive before the host, the wizard, dies a very painful, poisonous death. But he shouldn't have been such a little pain in my backside with his blue lasers. And I might not have poisoned him, I might have just focused on his summon and then gone and dealt with him later. But you know, sometimes you just got to do what you've got to do, and on this occasion that meant taking out this annoying little laser beam firing wizard. I think the next video is going to feature a different build, guys. At least for now I'm going to move on from the Ant-Man and focus on one of my other builds. In the background to doing these invasions, I've been progressing my Golden Crusader build. I've added some new incantations to him and I've changed him up slightly. So I can't wait to jump back onto that build and do some more invasions. So I think the next video after this one is going to feature my Golden Crusader. And at least for now, I'm going to move on and try some different builds. So you might not see the Ant-Man for a little while at least anyway. But I can highly recommend trying out these poison sprays. This is level 30, so I can't speak of how effective they'd be at high level, but at least at level 30 they're a hell of a lot of fun and definitely viable. It always helps when you've got some strong weapons to back it up as well. Like you can see in this invasion, we're using the venomous fangs, and everyone knows how effective these things are. They're extremely good, really good strong weapons. So if you're trying to use something a bit more quirky like the poisonous perfume, it's always a good idea just to have a little bit of a backup in case things get a little bit tricky, like you can see here. Anyway guys, we're almost at the end of this video, so I'll let these last couple of invasions play out. You guys look after yourselves, take it easy, hope you enjoy your invasions, whatever builds and crazy ideas you're trying out, just have fun and enjoy it. Anyway, look after yourselves guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.